Finish what we started. Finish the job.
You'll go back to prison.
The story begins with Alexander Duggan, an elite assassin known as Jackal, who disguises himself as an elderly cleaner he recently clipped in Munich. After practicing his lines and mimicking the old man, he goes straight to a building connected to an influential German politician and media owner, Manfred Fest, and fools the guards with his disguise. Once inside, he quietly prepares his operation. But then a lady walks into the office, so he clips her. The noise attracts a guard, and as a result, Duggan shoots him down, and this leads to pandemonium. Elias, Manfred's son, tries running off, but Duggan shoots his leg and spares him. Duggan then goes to the rooftop and creates a smokescreen below the building to hide his escape route. When he gets to his apartment, he strips off his mask and checks his phone before resting on the couch. The following day, while the news airs about Manfred coming to Munich to visit his hospitalized son, Duggan assembles a specialized rifle and waits patiently in a distant firing position. Some minutes before Manfred arrives, Duggan calibrates his gun till he's sure he can make the shot. Just then, his target shows up, and the moment he steps into the hospital, Duggan sends him to the afterlife. This shocks everyone, and an officer pinpoints Jackal's location and signals to the others to go after him. At first, Duggan thinks of shooting the officer, but then he changes his mind, so he quickly packs up to leave the vicinity. He plants a bomb under the bed, and as he leaves the building, he sees the cops rush in to find him. After arriving at a park, he switches vehicles and drives off. As for the cops, the moment they enter the room, the bomb explodes simultaneously with the car he had just used. Meanwhile, in London, at the MI6 headquarters, Bianca, a weapons specialist agent, checks through some weapons delivered to her when she learns of Manfred's assassination. When she gets home, she relaxes with her husband and then promises her daughter that she'll try to watch her at practice. That same night at Nuremberg, in Germany, Duggan, who has a weird habit of collecting rare chess pieces, uses it as an excuse at the border, and he is allowed to leave the country.
I need to get out of here before I bankrupt myself.
Though the Brazilian and Egyptian knockoffs are almost as good these days. Very nice gun.
The next day, Bianca learns more about the case, and she forcefully joins the team of investigators. With her help, based on her expertise in guns, she concludes that the gun was probably made by Norman Stoke, a Northern Irish gun expert who has been on the run for years. Once the team learns about it, they feel iffy regarding the case, since it's like latching onto straws. Still, she convinces them that it's the only lead they have so far, and they should take the chance. Duggan goes to Paris and chats with his dealer using the dark web, and he requests payment for Munich. Suddenly, another client named Zena offers to hire him for $10 million for another job.
There's a gunmaker who's been trying to do this for years. His name is Norman Stoke. The sniper rifle is 3,540 meters.
Bianca, on the other hand, travels to Ireland to look for Norman, and goes to Allison, her CI, who has some connections to tracking Norman. Bianca then orders her to get a lead, or she'll be put back in prison. By the time she returns to her suite, her child Jasmine gets mad at her after realizing that her mom took her on a business trip under the disguise of a vacation, and she's keeping secrets from her. As for Duggan, he gets paid partly as he had demanded, and then a meetup point is set.
You know, she's really worked her socks off this term.
When was the last time Larry spoke to his brother Norman?
Which is in Sweden. He gets there earlier than Zena, and then tails her to a cabin, where she informs him to get rid of Uladog Charles, a tech billionaire. Once Duggan learns of Ula, he demands that she multiply the price by 10, knowing how dangerous the mission is. Zena complains about the price increment, but Duggan tells her to pay half of it up front, and complete the rest once he's through with the mission. Zena then informs him that she'd have to discuss the matter with her colleagues.
Half on commission, half on completion, all reasonable expenses paid. Multiply that by 10 and then perhaps we can have a conversation.
The next day, Bianca phones Allison, who doesn't cooperate with her, so she goes after Allison's daughter, Emma, in a protest, and detains her, and she gets framed. Unfortunately, Emma collapses in custody, and she's rushed to the hospital, but on the way, she gives up the ghost. Meanwhile, Dugan arrives at a luxurious villa where his wife Nuria happily welcomes him. Later that night, he logs into an encrypted site, and he discovers that his client plans to cheat him for his job in Munich, and this gets him furious.
She has a daughter, Emma, involved in a radical leftist group.
What are you talking about? Nobody was throwing anything.
Judging.
The next day, Bianca receives a call from Allison about Emma, and accuses Bianca of preventing her from speaking to her, so Allison asks her to get Emma out, and Bianca agrees on the condition that she helps her get Norman's location. Later that day at work, Bianca faces the consequences of Bella's death in the police custody, but then the MI6 officials help her out by cleaning up her mess. They then try to close the case, but she argues with them and insists they need Allison to get to Norman, and all this is possible because Allison is unaware of Emma's passing.
I need you to get me Norman's phone number, and I need it today.
Did you tell her that her daughter's dead?
I did not.
Meanwhile, Duggan gives his situation a deep thought, and then searches the net to know more about UDC, and he learns about Project River, a software program rumored to attempt a new era of financial transparency. Still annoyed about the Munich client, Duggan checks his bank and asks for a statement to know what had happened to the money he was promised earlier. Just then, his wife walks in, so he switches off his business mode and gets intimate with her. During that time, Xena speaks with her boss, and as they complain about Dugan's demands, Ula airs on the news, and his agenda pisses them off, so the boss orders Xena to ensure Dugan clips Ula.
People you work for think that because they pay you a lot of money,
We have very little time. This has got to be done before he releases this river thing.
Meanwhile, in London, Allison worries about Emma, so she asks her husband to contact Norman to help them out. While Dugan celebrates Cartilos' birthday, his son's birthday, he receives a text regarding his owed money, so he leaves to confirm it, and because of that, he dresses up and prepares to go to work. Although frustrated, Nuria decides to drive him to the airport, despite his refusal.
You could ask Norman.
Norman?
Well, Norman has loads of money.
This is an American plane.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to head off.
During that time, Bianca checks the security footage of Dugan's attack before the assassination, and she wonders why he used a Mark III gun. At the airport, after Dugan parts ways with his wife, he takes a taxi to one of his hideouts, but Nuria sees him, and when she calls him, he's unreachable. She gets hurt and goes back home dejected, and after telling her family, they conclude that Dugan is having an affair.
Why would you go for a 9mm when you could have something with a lot more stopping power?
Back in England, Bianca does a little bit of digging on the Jackal's gun and bag, and she realizes that he's from the United Kingdom and an ex-military member. She informs her supervisors, and they ask her for progress regarding Allison, and threaten to inform Allison about Emma's passing in the next 24 hours if Bianca doesn't get in contact with Norman. After the meeting, Jasmine calls Bianca and informs her that her brothers are coming over for dinner, and she shouldn't miss it. Bianca promises not to, and she continues working. This time around, she tells her assistant to scan for a tall ex-military person, around 30 years old.
By tomorrow morning, she'll know her daughter's dead.
So we think the sniper is British and the gunmaker is British.
Assuming our man is under 50, I'd say about 30 years.
Later that evening, Elisa and her husband go to a bar, and when he goes to get her favorite drink, she takes a photo of Norman's number before he can see her. At Bianca's home, she arrives just in time for dinner and celebrates her stepson's visit. As they dine, she gets a text from Allison, who sends her the photo. Bianca immediately excuses herself and ends up leaving for work. This pisses off her family, as they see how she always puts work before them. The next day, while Xena waits to meet up with Duggan, Bianca goes to Belarus with another detective named Spencer to locate Norman.
If we can't meet in the next 48 hours, we'll have to move on.
If Sparrow finds out, she'll tell Larry, who will tell his brother.
Meanwhile, in Germany, Dugan puts on a disguise and meets with Xena. This time around, they see each other in person and discuss their terms. Xena negotiates with him, and he agrees to $20 million up front. With that out of the way, she tells him Ula needs to be taken out before the 28th of that month. He then leaves for a bank to have his account checked. There, he finds out that the money entered and a certain person diverted it. Since the bank doesn't disclose the person's details,
I am authorized to pay you a commencement fee of $20 million. We're not terrorists. You know, we're patriots.
Dugan goes to do some research, and after a long time, he finds out that his client's name is Elias Fest, the same man he used to lure his father. Bianca, on the other hand, locates Norman's home, but she finds out the hard way that he had intel on them coming from him. In the process, she loses Spencer and other agents to the clash, and Norman escapes. Devastated, she looks around and sees a suitcase, so she takes it along with Spencer's corpse. The following day, Allison and her husband learn about their daughter's passing, and they mourn her as they head home. Meanwhile, Bianca gives the suitcase to a forensic analyst, and after the analysis, she takes it to see her supervisors. At first, they are furious with her for the loss of their men, and also how dire the situation has gotten. But then Bianca shows the briefcase to them, and decouples it, and rearranges it into a rifle. Thanks to her findings, they do not close the case.
You and this operation need to be shut down now.
What did you get from his bag?
Bianca then calls and leaves a voicemail, apologizing to Allison and promising to explain everything to her in detail. Meanwhile, in Germany, Dugan disguises himself as Herr and grieves about his mother at a funeral home owned by Elias. So he manipulates the attendant to get him his pills, and as soon as she leaves, he installs a remote viewer and access software on their system. Later that day, he logs into their device from his laptop and goes through the files. There, he sees one of their drivers and marks his name down.
If you'd allow me to sit down with you face to face so I can explain.
As for Nuria in Spain, her mom tells her how it isn't normal for Dugan not to call her when he's on business trips. Just then, she receives his call and then confesses that she had seen him in a taxi the other day. She drove him to the airport. Dugan tries to gaslight her, but she asks him to tell her where he is and why she hasn't seen any of his colleagues. He tells her he's in a hotel in Amsterdam, but she doesn't believe him, so she asks him to show her the hotel. He does as told, and after she confirms that he isn't with any woman, she tells him she'd like to join him, but he refuses. Curious and disappointed, she asks him when he'll return, but he can't give her a date. She gets mad at him and ends the call. Later that day, she goes to his office and searches through the place till she finds a hidden safe.
I saw you passing a taxi.
Nuria, I have no idea who you saw, but I was straight on that plane.
Go on video.
Oh no, please, you know I hate the video thing. Come on.
As for Allison, she dresses up to meet with Bianca, and she asks her husband, Larry, to come along. But he chooses to stay behind and mourn. As soon as she leaves, Larry gets a call from Norman, and Norman informs him of how cops had come for him, and he clipped some of them. When Allison meets with Bianca, Bianca tries to manipulate her to get Larry to find Norman, but Allison gets mad at her and leaves. When she gets home, Larry interrogates her, and he learns about her contact with Bianca, a police officer, so he attacks Allison for selling his brother out and drags her indoors.
You need to tell me where Norman is.
When Bianca gets back to work, one of her superiors interrogates her and wonders if she was the one who tipped Norman, but she vehemently denies it and tries to prove herself. Still, he doesn't buy it, and he suspects her nevertheless. Isabella, the one vouching for Bianca, tells her to get some rest, but then she gets another call from her boss, so they meet up and try to process who could have tipped Norman. At first, they suspect Isabella, but then believe it could be Damien. Although they have no clue who the person is, they conclude that it's in-house, so Bianca is told to keep her circle tighter.
You know I didn't tip him off, so why are you going through this charade?
Could it be Damien?
Why would Damien do it?
As for Dugan, he gets paid up front, as agreed, and then goes straight for the driver he had marked, and clips him before putting on his disguise and driving off to the Fest's mansion. After the family gathers to mourn the head of the house, Elias, who is heavily guarded, gets into the vehicle, unaware that Dugan is the one driving. After driving off for a couple of minutes, Dugan strays from the other vehicle after taking out the guard sitting next to him. After that, he drives to an alleyway where he clips Elias for insulting him.
Interestingly, they stopped completely the day Fest was murdered.
Then he gets rid of the phone and puts a time bomb in the car before making his way out of the vicinity. By the time the other guards arrive, the vehicle explodes. As he makes his way out of Germany, he watches through his camera and learns that his wife had done some digging till they eventually entered his secret room. There, they learn he's an assassin. The next day, the news aired Elias's death and how he was killed by the hitman he had called to kill his father. The public learns the truth due to Elias's phone, which was still on a call when he was pleading with Dugan to spare him. Without wasting time, the MI6 arrange a meeting, and their supervisor asks Bianca for her results in tracking Norman so far, but she has no leads.
Did anyone get a good look at him?
It appears not, no.
Meanwhile in France, Dugan gets lost in thought as he wonders how to face Nuria, and he crashes into an ambulance. He genuinely apologizes to the ambulance driver and offers to pay for the damage and even the man's monthly income. But the man acts so difficult, and he involves a police officer. When the policeman checks Dugan's bag, he sees a gun, so Dugan clips him and the driver before zooming off. As he drives, he phones Nuria and tells her he'd like her to meet in Paris so he can open up about himself and what he does. At first, she seems skeptical, but she agrees to it.
If there was any chance that I could persuade you to come to Paris.
Elsewhere, Bianca gets informed about how the Jackal is on the move, so she does some digging and finds an ex-military officer who runs a sniper group chat. After interrogating him, she learns about Dugan, a legendary sniper who was said to have died about a decade ago. Despite his demise, Bianca has her colleague look into his case.
Somebody's hiring the Jackal for another kill. Get me everything you can on Alexander Dugan, a sniper killed in Helmand in 2013.
Later that day, Nuria shows up in Paris to meet Dugan, and she slaps him for lying to her. She then asks him to tell her everything, and he reveals he's a troubleshooter. He downplays his dangerous job and tells her how he was too scared for her to find out. She gets worried, but then he promises her to give him 2 weeks, and they'll be free from all their troubles. After tugging at her heartstrings, Nuria hugs him and chooses to believe him.
Do you kill people?
No.
As for Xena, she's asked to find another hitman aside from the Jackal, but when they learn about how Dugan had clipped Elias, even in a very risky situation, they approve her choice with the condition that she sticks with him.
You're not going to find anybody as good as the Jackal.
I think we need to find somebody else.
Later that night, Larry mourns Allison, whom he had strangled to death, and then he contacts Bianca with Allison's phone for them to meet. When they show up, he attacks Bianca, but she runs for her life and contacts the police to have Larry detained. Thankfully, Vincent arrives just in time to save her. Unfortunately, Larry makes his escape, so when they go to his house to find him, they see Allison's corpse. Later that night, as they stitch Bianca's wounds, Vincent hands her a gun to use to protect herself.
Camden Lock, Norfolk Bank, south of High Street. I'm sending you the pin now.
When she gets home, her husband gets pissed at her when she doesn't open up, especially after he's seen her injury. Later at work, Isabel asks her for an update on getting Norman, and Bianca asks that she transfer Vincent to work with her. Isabel agrees with the condition that Bianca regularly gives her updates on her mission. Dugan, on the other hand, leaves Nuria and goes to Tallinn, where Ula is.
Okay, fine. Well, then I'll just not go to the conference.
But no, that's not why
Well, why not?
But, it's good. I like keeping people safe.
I need him reassigned to this op.
And after making it past the security, he attends a club concert where he checks all the camera angles before going to the balcony, and he spots a good place to take out his next target. Suddenly, the hatch where he stands opens, and he nearly falls to his death, but he scales death at the cost of his phone. Later that night, after the program, he had a worker named Rasmus help him locate the phone.
Make sure he's secure and let UDC be UDC.
I know it's you. Otherwise I wouldn't be calling you.
Meanwhile, Bianca chats idly with Vincent, and after doing her rounds, she goes home only to find Larry holding Jasmine hostage. Without wasting time, she shoots his foot, then tries to shoot him until Jasmine intervenes. Some minutes later, the cops pull up at her house and try to coerce Larry to give them Norman's location. Bianca tries soothing her daughter, but she doesn't buy it. That same night, Dugan leaves for his apartment, and to his surprise, he sees Xena waiting for him inside, so he locks the door and stares at her sternly.
Carver's on the job now, so it's a full-blown mole hunt.
I want you to see this.
Tell me everything I need to know.
Despite being terrified, Xena addresses him formally and scolds him for going rogue in Munich. She warns him about how he has been hired by very powerful people, and he should ensure he doesn't flop the mission. The next day they go on her boat, and she tells him to contact her if he needs anything. As for Bianca, she and Vincent go to the hospital, and they threaten Larry to give Norman's location, or else he'll join his dead family in the grave. Larry acts so obstinately that he tries to maintain the bro code almost until death, but after multiple go at his life, he fesses up all he knows about Norman's whereabouts.
Just ask Norman Stoke.
Meanwhile, Duggan contacts the aforementioned to get more tools, but Norman reveals he's not in his top physical condition to make them. Since their relationship goes a bit way back, Duggan offers to help him out. Later that day, Bianca briefs her boss that Norman is in Budapest, so he makes some calls to help her with the operation. In Budapest, while Norman picks Dugan up, Bianca, who is still in London, tries to narrow down where the Norman warehouse is. When she gets to Paul's sister's home, she gets into a fight with Paul, who can barely recognize who she is due to her obsession with work.
So Duggan is dead.
Yep.
Just there, give him a wee Belfast welcome, and I got out of there. I dealt with him.
If I'm to help, I need the details. Where is he?
Norman takes Duggan to his place, and Duggan sees a sniper that reminded him of his military days. He discusses with Norman about making a gun that can be made into a boot, so they get creative with ideas and talk about methods to fool the metal detector used at checkpoints. Some moments later, they start their work, and as they relax for the 3D machine to print the parts out,
Oh, yes. That's nice.
Duggan has a glass of alcohol with Norman. Then they discuss lightly how falling in love messes with their type of job. Curious, Duggan asks Norman how he got injured, so Norman explains how he fought off some cops who came after him. Duggan analyzes the situation and learns that the MI6 were onto Norman, and he pries more to know how Norman had escaped, since it's nigh impossible to take such a squad on and survive. There, Norman confesses he received a unanimous tip, and that's what made him prepare for them. Pissed, Duggan warns Norman not to act out of character.
Look, I'm lying to you. I'm telling you all about it. I
How
know.
did you get away from an MI6 snatch squad?
Does that settle your nerves?
Came calling for you in Belarus, Norman. Russians?
The next day, Bianca gets a call from one of her officers saying Norman's hideout has been identified. They give Bianca the location, and she immediately flies to Belarus with her men. While at it, Dugan tries out the new shoe and finds it comfy. Norman then shows him how to decouple it into a gun, and then warns him about how 8 times is the maximum number of times he can use it. After that, he hands Dugan some bullets, and Duggan decides to practice with them. While at it, he calibrates it to his liking.
It's not gunmetal. You'll get 8 shots from it.
As he heads home, he calls Nuria, and as they converse, he sees Bianca and her men heading to Norman's place, so he wraps up his call and tails them. He then calls Norman and briefs them about the MI6, but he has little to no time to prepare. Also, due to his injured arm, he struggles with his aim, and he's eventually surrounded. Some minutes later, they tie him up and demand the Jackal, but Norman keeps saying he doesn't have the foggiest idea what they are talking about. Bianca then searches the place, and she sees Duggan's bag, so she tells them not to take Norman away, but to wait because Duggan is around, and he'll surely come back.
The Jackal's been here. His things are here.
After failing to get the Jackal's identity, Bianca also tries to find out who tipped Norman off about their arrival back then, and who helped Larry get her home address, but he doesn't give her a clue. She then rage baits him by revealing how his brother, Larry, sold him out. Pissed, he gets up, but then gets shot by Duggan, who was aiming at Bianca. Immediately, Duggan makes a run for it once he sees no officer on site. But then the others outside shoot at him, so he dashes into the stables and rides into the woods on a horse. They go after him, and he shoots Lena, but her vest protects her. Bianca goes after him, but he falls into the lake, and she fires multiple shots at him, but loses him. After a long time, he comes out of the water and rests at a barn. But then the barn owner shows up and knocks him out before tying him up. The next morning, Attila, the barn owner, tries communicating with Duggan, but the language barrier causes a lot of problems. At first, he explains how his action is only normal since he found Duggan, who is a stranger, in his barn. But then he releases Duggan and tells him to leave. Just then, he spots Duggan's rifle, so Attila drags Duggan into his place, and then calls his friend, who has an English speaker to interpret what Duggan is saying. Once they learn that Duggan wants to pay them for letting him go, they drive over to the barn.
Yeah, so I have money and I can pay him. Do you understand me?
Unfortunately, Attila, who has a bad temper, gets on Duggan's nerves by force-feeding him, so Duggan takes him out. While he prepares to take his leave, the men come across some native cops, who brief them about a dangerous foreigner in the area. Concerned, they try phoning Attila, but the geezer is before the pearly gates. Duggan then tries to take his leave, but the men arrive, and once they enter the house, he starts the car, so they shoot at him, but he crawls under the car and clips one of them before sending him to the river Styx. He orders the other man to drive, and then throws away Attila's phone.
What could they have been printing? I wonder.
Duggan calls Nuria and briefs her that he's in trouble, and he isn't sure he'll make it home. She gets concerned, and after asking him where he is, he reluctantly tells her he's in Budapest. That's when she tells him she'll be coming over to pick him up. At first, he disagrees, but she doesn't back down, so he instructs her on what to do. Bianca, on the other hand, learns about the two people Duggan recently clipped, and as she tries tracking him down, Osita, who had received a text from his CI, calls Bianca and congratulates her before ordering her to report back to base for their preparation towards Anubis.
Stoke killed 2 of our people in Belarus.
100% sure that I'm going to be making it back.
Isabel says congratulations on getting Norman.
As Ula officially announces River's launch on the 28th, Duggan has the fellow with him drive to town, where he makes a different choice by sparing him and ghosting right after. The next place he goes to is a cafe, where he chats with Xena and refuses her help. He also texts Nuria through the mail and organizes a meeting point for them. Later that day, when they meet, Nuria hugs him and watches him disguise himself as an old cripple. Thanks to her help, he easily got his visa approved without the need to join the queue.
Owns 51% of the stock. The river is real, and it will be launched on the 28th.
As he heads towards Thailand, he spots Bianca and Vincent changing course, and from them he learns Osit is the one feeding them about his movements. When he gets to his suite, he gets rid of his disguise. But just then, the cops show up at his door and ask him if he noticed any burglar attempts. He denies, saying he was out sightseeing, but then he gets questioned about his business in Tallinn. After giving them his answers, he gives the cop his number, and once they confirm he isn't an imposter, they let him go.
Let's hope OC's sending us to the right place.
Well, I'm afraid that I've been out sightseeing all day, so...
After they leave, he contacts Rasmus, and they share a drink before coming back to his place to have an intimate session.
What do you mean you don't know?
The next morning, Duggan meets with Xena and informs her of the 2 British MI6 agents on his trail. Xena immediately feels delighted after finding out that he wants to rely on her, so she readily agrees to help. Still, Duggan tells her he'll take care of the rest himself.
Rodan's arriving on Friday.
I was wondering if your people might be able to do something about them.
We'll share it with Duskelvers and the Estonians.
During that time, Ula learns of the Jackal's incident in Hungary, but he remains adamant about launching River in Tallinn despite his men's disapproval. Duggan, on the other hand, returns to his suite, and as he goes through the architectural blueprint of the building, Rasmus wakes up and watches Duggan fumble through the blueprints, so he offers to take Duggan there in person that day.
If we cancel now, UDC looks ridiculous.
Better ridiculous than dead.
River's enemies win.
Meanwhile, in Duggan's room at home in Spain, Nuria's mom persuades Nuria to give her brother some cash for his business, so she lets him into the safe room. There, her bro steals some cash, and Duggan's gun while pretending he only took a few, and all this happened without their knowledge that Duggan is watching. Shortly afterwards, Rasmus takes Duggan to the building and gives him a backdoor pass to check the place out. Immediately, Duggan gets inside, checks the place out, and messes with the security system. After that, he thanks Rasmus and leaves for work. Meanwhile, the agents had a rough sketch of Duggan, and after showing the images to the town cops, the female cop who interrogated Duggan earlier confirms it matches Peter Duggan's alias. Immediately, the officers move out in search of the Jackal, but they are suddenly interrupted by a group that shoots at them. Fortunately, Bianca and Vincent easily take them out, so they head to the supposed building to find the Jackal, but only meet an empty room. Duggan, who must have switched to Airbnb, part ways with Rasmus, and he attends the piano concert.
There was something about him, and he looked a lot like this.
Right after it ends, he goes to the back door and crawls his way to the top of the podium, where he has an aerial view of the pianist. There he couples his rifle and lies in wait, but then he visions of his military days, and also how he first met Nuria, since he had learned about how the place would be locked for a couple of hours. So he stays there and snacks all day. During that time, Bianca had the rough sketch sent to every officer in town. The next day, which is the day of the launch, moments before Ula goes into the building, the security team performs one last sweep, and after confirming the area is safe, they allow the people into the building.
Ilva says Peter Gibson hasn't used his credit card in Tallinn since he paid for the Airbnb.
And by evening, they commence the program. Duggan, who has already spent several hours lying flat, changes his mind, so he creeps up on the security guards and takes them out till he gets a clear view of the stage from the balcony. There, he aims his gun at Ula, and after watching Ula run his mouth for a while, Duggan fires his shot, which is supposed to guide the tech bro to the gates of Valhalla, but he misses. Immediately, a group of guards shows up with bulletproof shields to protect Ula. As everybody makes a run for it, Duggan blends with them, but Rasmus follows him, so he gets rid of him quietly before making his grand escape.
Surrender. It has to be forced.
Back in 2013, when Duggan was still in the army in Afghanistan, his friend wanted him to take a shot at the Taliban leader from about 1,400 meters. At first, he hesitates, as he believes his target isn't present, so they end up waiting for a long time in the desert. Presently, the cops search around, and they give him the props for waiting in an uncomfortable place for 2 days. Back then, after waiting for a while in the desert for the Taliban troops to come back, they spotted their friend's help. Duggan easily snipes the man, and they hurry off to their base.
Vehicles in transit.
where Dugan is celebrated for his precise marksmanship. Suddenly, some folks show up and offer to hire Dugan and his friends for a far higher amount than they get as soldiers.
I'd make more money emptying bins back in Lancashire.
Currently, Bianca has a meeting with her superiors, who want the mission closed, but Bianca insists they take a look at Dugan, and she refuses to believe the report of his death. When asked why she's hellbent on following her guts, Bianca informs them all about how Dugan was the best sniper there, and he's their closest shot. After the meeting, Isabel takes Bianca to meet Carver, the foreign secretary, and they discuss the possibility of the Jackal being a British. During Dugan's prime, he took the offer and easily eliminated their target. Impressed, the client offered to introduce him to his boss, who was a very powerful person.
He went to Afghanistan and never came back, but there's no body.
Who turns out to be ex-British Army, and it's later revealed we had information we didn't act on.
Fast forward to the present, where the rough sketch is all over the news. When Alvaro sees it, he calls Dugan the Jackal, and this has Nuria worried, so she phones Dugan, who tells him he's out of Talon and promises to show up the next day. She tells him about what Alvaro said, and Dugan tells her to ensure Alvaro doesn't say it out.
Will the police come here?
No, they have absolutely no reason to come. You listen to me, Nuria.
That evening, Jasmine shows up at Bianca's place and acts distant by wanting to talk outside, but Bianca convinces her to come in. Once inside, Jasmine asks about UDC, and then asks about Larry, but Bianca tells her he's in jail. Jasmine gets curious since she remembered Larry talking about his dead daughter, so she asks Bianca if she had something to do with it. Bianca lies to her about it, and Jasmine reads her like a book.
Don't, Jazz, honestly, he's not a good man.
But Mum, his daughter died.
We need to work out how best to protect you and our family.
Another time in the past, when Dugan went on another mission, his team commander demolished a Taliban wedding, and it caused Dugan to have second thoughts after watching innocent people killed. Bianca, on the other hand, goes to the cell to check up on Larry, but Larry, who is fed up with seeing her face, calls her rotten for using her family to get to him and my brother and causing their deaths. Without giving her time to explain herself, he takes his own life right in front of her. The experience leaves her scarred.
Yeah, see, when you made me those promises, did you actually mean them? You know, even for a minute?
And when she gets back to the office, Vincent calms her down and reminds her it's their job to protect people. This gives her a sad reality check, as she remembers her zero-clutch rate ever since trying to find Norman. To make things better, he tells her that Osita has the files on Dugan she's requested, so they hurry to the meeting room to check them out.
They helped cheer you up if I told you they had Alexander Duggan's file waiting for you in conference room 2.
Upon arrival, they sign an NDA and read through the files, only to learn how Dugan and his men got wiped out by a bomb. What had happened was that Dugan had his teammate, Gary, follow him to check out a path for landmines. After putting the entire squad on the edge of their seats, he blows up their vehicles, leaving only himself and Gary. After reading the file, Bianca refuses to believe that Dugan is dead, even though there's an official report on him. Just then, she sees Isabel request the file from Osita, and a thought creeps into her mind.
They can't find us.
In Croatia, Dugan checks how the boats going to Ula's island are searched thoroughly. Just then, Xena shows up pissed and asks him why he missed his shot at Ula in the conference. She reminds him that River launches in 48 hours and asks him if he's concerned, but he tells her he isn't on a holiday. On the island, Ula tells his partner to ensure River launches if everything happens to him, but the dude prefers if Ula stays alive for his project.
You know, as far as they're concerned, you had a shot and you missed.
You'll make River happen. Really, I could promise, but we both know I'd be lying.
As for Bianca, she does some research among the men who got blown to bits and comes across Baldwin, their captain. She traces him to a hospital and goes there to ask him about Dugan. At first, Baldwin doesn't want to cooperate, but she threatens him by preventing him from calling his nurse when he needs more morphine. Left with no choice, he tells her all she knows. But when she returns to work to brief Isabel of her findings, Isabel shocks her by informing her that she's closing the case. Bianca tries to convince her, but it doesn't work out.
So if Duggan's alive, it's possible that Cobb is alive too.
Because I'm closing the investigation.
What can you tell me about Alexander Duggan?
So she leaves, looking for Osita, but can't find him anywhere. Meanwhile, Osita is under investigation for leaking their data to outsiders.
About information getting into the wrong hands, about Norman.
That evening, Duggan goes home and plays with his son before putting him to bed. After that, he runs into Nuria, who asks if anything about him is real. Annoyed, she calls him a liar and shows his wanted profile before asking him if he clips people for money. Duggan admits, and she makes him say it out. And even after he does as told, she tells him it's not enough until they talk about it.
Kill people for money.
Say it again.
I kill people for money. I kill people for money!
Now we can have a conversation.
That same night, Bianca visits Osita to ask for his support regarding the Jackal's investigation, but he tells her they've closed it. She gets pissed at him, but then he remains adamant as he tells her how it'll risk his job.
Well, the one that was different.
In this job, different is inadvisable.
Later that night, she goes over to Paul's and tries to work things out with him, but she realizes that the rift she's caused is not something that can easily be closed. The next morning, after talking things out with Nuria, Duggan tells her that he can stop his job and live normally like she wants, but he has one more job that he needs to accomplish in the next 24 hours. Unable to stomach his lifestyle, Nuria gets up to make a coffee.
There's one more job that I have to finish. I do love you.
And I love you, and isn't that what matters?
Some minutes later, Alvaro shows up and informs her that he's been in contact with Jimmy Tejero, a gangster leader, about running a partnership with him. Nuria gets afraid, and she dejectedly walks to Duggan to tell him about what Alvaro has done. She gets frightened, but Duggan calms her down and promises to sort things out. So he goes to Alvaro a few minutes later and agrees to meet at Victoria Beach later that noon to discuss business with Jimmy.
Bueno, que necesito que Charles me eche un...
¿Tú qué le has dicho de Charles?
¿Qué me pasa? ¿De qué?
¿Qué te pasa?
On Ula's island, he meets with one of his investors who complains about how his current stock is plummeting, and it would be nice for him to postpone the river project. But Ula remains undeterred and insists the project will launch the following day, while the group of investors who do not want the river project to launch wait for Duggan and wonder where he's up to. Duggan borrows a boat and uses it to clip Jimmy from afar, solving half of his problem with one bullet. The next day, Bianca sees the shooting article published, and she believes it must be the Jackal.
Our technologies and applications are fundamental to the world economy.
That same morning, Duggan rents a boat, and when they get to the middle of the sea, he clips the sailor. Then he mounts his equipment and recalibrates his shots till he gets an accurate result. While Ula is overwhelmed regarding Project River, Duggan senses a drone, so he hides his gun and pretends to fish. Some minutes later, Ula prepares to do his regular morning exercise. When Duggan sees him, he calibrates his weapon, but then a boat shifts his balance by rumpling the water, so he gets rid of the rider. Ula and his assistant then dive into the water for their regular rounds. But just then, the drone sees Duggan, so Duggan jams its signal. The people on the island are immediately notified about him, so they take cover and beckon to Ula to come back to base. While at it, Ula's assistant tries to help Ula take cover by plunging him into the sea. Unfortunately, Duggan blows his brain out. Ula then does everything possible to swim away, but Duggan calculates his movements and fires a shot a second before Ula comes out. The distance works in Duggan's favor, and Ula gets clipped, bringing a wrap to Duggan's mission. That same morning, while an inspector contacts Nuria, Duggan drives as fast as possible to leave the town, but then he gets stopped and blocked at a checkpoint. Rather than giving them a chance to search his vehicle, he rams into the officer, and the cops chase after him. Despite his broken windscreen, he pulls out casual baby driver moves and evades the cops' pursuit. Later that day, the news air on Ula's passing, and the Anti-River Project investors celebrate. Meanwhile, at MI6, Bianca informs Isabel about Jimmy, who got sniped in Spain, and she tells her it's the Jackal, but Isabel reminds her that the case is closed. When Bianca insists, Isabel asks her to get a better job. If she cannot accept that sometimes people lose at life, she makes the point sink in by informing her how much Bianca has not only endangered their work, but also cost them lives and money. Bianca gets pissed, and she announces her resignation before storming out of the office.
That's not the job I signed up for.
Then maybe you need to find another job, Bianca.
1 bullet execution from 1 kilometer away, from a boat. It has to be the same killer.
The world lost a visionary and a beacon of hope.
The moment she leaves, the foreign secretary shows up and discusses with Isabel about how their plan had worked. When Isabel reveals Bianca has quit, the man tells her the higher-ups want Bianca to deal with the Jackal, and why they deal with her after.
Zeal outside the tent tends to be rather problematic.
During that time, Nuria goes to the hospital and learns about Jimmy's death from Alvaro. She gets pissed with him for always mooching off people and almost getting them in danger, so she breaks ties with him and leaves. Duggan, on the other hand, blitzes like he owns the tarmac. He suddenly sees a kid with a ball in the middle of the road, so he swerves, and his car loses control and crashes into the ground. Some minutes later, a man shows up and rescues him, but he gets scared when he sees Duggan with guns, so he begs for his life. Duggan simply asks for his keys, and he drives the dude's truck.
That's your van? Yes. Yeah, where are the keys?
As for Bianca, she attends one of Paul's lectures and asks him to come home. She then reveals she has quit her job. He happily reconsiders, and they talk about fixing their marriage. When she gets home, she has a happy meal with her family.
I just want my husband back.
But then Isabel shows up and asks her to continue working on the case, but under the radar, and she must terminate the Jackal. To her surprise, Bianca refuses the offer.
I think there may be a way we can reopen the case. Finish what we started. Finish the job.
Elsewhere, after driving till the truck can't move anymore, Duggan gets rid of the vehicle. He walks for a couple of miles and comes across an old couple, so he asks for a lift to the nearest hospital. Although suspicious, they help him out, but then he pulls out his gun and orders them to take him to the border. Left with no choice, they do as they are told.
As long as you do exactly as I tell you. Will you do that?
But upon getting there, they see the cops stopping and thoroughly searching vehicles at the border. Duggan checks his phone for another route, and then orders them to take him there. After driving for a while, he tells them to stop and asks for the keys. The old man already gets the clue, so he asks Duggan to join him for some smoke. Outside, he asks if Duggan is going to clip them, but Duggan doesn't say anything, but calls them nice people. He compares them to his parents, and the geezer wonders where such a terrible person like him came from. He gives it a thought, and then makes up his mind not to take their lives, only for him to get stabbed by the old lady. Her husband then tries to strangle him, but Duggan clips him, and then the old lady. At Bianca's place, Bianca tells them about how she rejected the job offer, but Paul, knowing who she is, tells her to go for it. After giving it a few thoughts, Bianca leaves for the job. That night, Duggan calls Nuria and opens up that he's done with the job, and he wants her and their son to go on a trip with him. At first, she wants him to come home, but after sensing his uneasiness, she agrees to go with him wherever.
You're going to school.
Of course we're safe, Nuria. I just want to be us.
But I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to be home.
The next day, Bianca goes to the airport with Vincent and they travel to Spain to look for leads on the Jackal. When they get there, they go to the police department in the town where the shooting happened, and the police officer tells them about Alvaro and his family. Even though the Jackal's name doesn't match what Bianca had expected,
I said we have concluded he is not involved.
Don't think you understand.
Look.
she follows her lead and goes to Duggan's house. There, she tells Vincent about how she plans to capture Duggan alive. He disagrees with her, but she insists it's the only way to know what's at play. As they wait for Duggan to come home, Nuria surprises them by boarding a taxi and leaving the place. At first, Vincent asks if they should follow, but Bianca rejects the idea using her woman's intuition, so they wait until Duggan arrives.
That's someone who's running away from him, not running towards him.
Meanwhile, Xena asks for her cut on the Jackal's case, and she's promised to receive it. But then, they send an assassin after her, but she skillfully avoids confrontation. When she gets out, she contacts Duggan, who can't find his wife and kid at home, and tells him that hitmen are coming for him.
Pleased with your work, and they have something else for you in Europe.
And he wants his money, of course.
Only fair.
And they're coming for you.
With that, he prepares himself, and when he hears a gunshot, he realizes they are not just indoors, but they've clipped Alvaro, so he switches off the lights and waits for them. The moment he tries to shoot Bianca, Vincent jumps in and bites the bullet. Now left in a one-on-one confrontation, Bianca tries to talk him into surrendering and even mentions his name, but Duggan clips her without any effort.
I like to win.
Then he goes looking for his family. He calls Nuria, but she dumps her phone, so he gets desperate, and, in the end, gets into a bloody accident. The following day, Isabel gets promoted as the chief lead, but Osita can't congratulate her after losing Bianca and Vincent recently. She tries to badmouth them, but Osita walks off, and when he checks his phone, he sees a message from Bianca revealing Isabel was the one who sent her to get the Jackal. With that, he realizes she's the mole, but then he deletes her message and carries on as if nothing happened.
I will come and I will find you.
Congratulations, but we've lost 2 officers, so you'll forgive me if I'm not feeling celebratory.
Time passes, and Duggan meets up with Xena, and she's amazed he survived the accident. She shows him her employer, who has made lots of profit since Ula's death, and then reminds Duggan that he doesn't like unpaid debts. Duggan postpones the job by telling her he has someone he wants to find first, so he leaves, and she wishes him good luck. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.